Dive meta sucks. Now, the more and more that Marvel Rivals Season 2 goes on, the more and more that I feel like we're not talking about the thing that is making this season not feel as good or as fun as the other seasons felt. And even though, balance changes have been announced and, patches have been, announced and things like that, I really feel like the thing that is making this season not feel as fun as the other season, especially from my perspective as a support main, dive meta is not fun. Because I've been thinking about this as this whole season has been going on. I'm wondering, what is the difference between this season and the seasons beforehand? And it's the fact that dive was never meta and that dive was never really consistently good enough to be meta, in my opinion. So I kind of want to talk about why I feel like dive is the reason that this meta doesn't feel as fun as the other seasons and what can be done to improve that, but also to make sure that dive is fun for the people who just love and fiend for dive.
Now a word from our sponsors.
Hi, before using Dubby, I was a father of 12. But now, after Dubby, I'm a deadbeat dad.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Let's see what we got in here for the Dubby. Big Dubby. We got the motherfucking. We got the motherfucking. Oh shit. So the first flavor of Dubby, we have peach and beet.
You what?
Second flavor of Dubby, we got the dragon mayo. Next flavor we have laxative.
What?
Laxy grenade. Next flavor we have this is a 0 sugar powder pack. And last but certainly not least, we have Heinz Berry Splash. I'm Wasabi, and this has been your W advertisement.
Now, I said in my previous video that I just dropped about the support strike in Marvel Rivals, but I'll say it here again, dive I feel like it's always been a very popular strategy in Marvel Rivals. While it may not have been, the most optimal or the most meta strategy that is in the game, it's been a very, very popular playstyle since Season 0, and people just kind of love to play it. Dive has been very, very popular. You see this with all the Spider-Mans and the Venom duos and the Psylocke and the Magics and the Iron Fist, and the moment that people in a moment that characters like that got buffed, it seems like people just leaped and jumped at the opportunity to make it meta, and it has become meta. Characters like Iron Fist, Captain America, Magic, Psylocke, Iron Fist, all those characters are just very, very strong now, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel fun to play against when there aren't enough counters to it. I'm not gonna speak about this perspective of supports because I don't play DPS, I don't play duelist, I don't play Vanguard enough, but from the perspective of a strategist player, there are not enough counters for this meta to feel fun or to feel interactive at all. And I also said in my previous video that this feels like playing strategists in this meta feels like a case of how long can you survive the dive interactions, and if you can even live them at all, will decide whether or not you win a lot of the games where you have a dive situation going on. And I'm not just talking about, the stray Magic or the stray Iron Fist, in the lobby that's, diving the back line. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about. I am talking about a full dive comp, Venom, Spider-Man, Captain America, Magic with the 2 strategists in the back. That's what I mean when I say full dive comp. Every single person on the team except for the strategists are diving. Every single one, honestly. And there are just not enough ways to counter this as a strategist player, but people will not everybody will, some people will make it seem like there are enough counters to it, right? Because one of the good things about this is that Rocket Raccoon got a huge change to his ultimate, which makes him very, very good, if not one of the best supports in the game right now, to where his ult now gives you overshield, which is a great change to his ult. It gives him way more utility. But then you have the downside of they unjustly, in my opinion, nerfed his dash to where you can't just dash away from people now to get away from getting doled by 3-4 different people. Because now the Captain America and the Iron Fist and even the Emma Frost can still just, run you down and just you end up dying anyways. Beforehand in Season 0 and in Season 1 and 1.5, you could just dash away from them one time and save your other dash because it went a farther distance and was on a way less of a cooldown than it is now. Because I feel like the only strategists that feel good against a full team of dive is Rocket Raccoon and Loki. Loki and Rocket Raccoon have the best movement options out of any strategist in the game to get away from everybody diving you and, you know, diving on top of you and ulting you at the same time. Those are the only two that feel like they have a fighting chance with dive being as popular as it is. But characters like Invisible Woman, Luna, Mantis, they feel horrible in this meta, especially somebody like Luna and Mantis, where their only counters to dive are skill shots. Yeah, Luna freeze and Mantis sleep. If you're going up against a full dive team, yes, I can freeze the one Captain America or the Venom, but then the Spider-Man and the Magic will still end up diving the back line, and now the only real thing that I have to do is to try to run away or to at least try to fight them. But then a lot of times, unless you get peels, that's not really a favorable matchup in my opinion. And even though I feel like the support strike was, you know, kind of really a joke, honestly, like with all jokes, there are some truths into it. Like, there definitely was some truths in that playing support this season feels like ass, but not for the sole reason of, oh, my teammates are ass, my DPS are ass, my tanks are ass, but kind of for the main but not the sole reason of that dive feels horrible to play against because there aren't enough counters to it as a strategist, man. There's not enough counters to it. We have very little, but we don't have enough, which is why I'm hoping that when Ultron comes out, he will be a very different support character. Like, he'll have more utility. He'll have ways to he'll have more different and unique ways to, you know, run from the dive comps that you're going up against almost every other game, it seems like, at this point. Because before these characters got buffed and before, you know, the strategists got their nerfs and things like that, dive was a strategy that wasn't meta, so you didn't see it often. You did not see dive often. Let's say if you played 10-15 games of Rivals, you might see it, you know, every 1 or 2 or maybe 3 games out of your whole session, maybe. But now I end up seeing them basically every game or every other game that I'm playing during my sessions. Which is honestly what makes this season, in my opinion, very, very stressful, because playing against dive comps as a strategist just is very, very stressful. Like, it's not a fun experience, especially if you're with a team that doesn't peel for you or that doesn't know how to peel for you, so you end up just getting your ass beat for, you know, 10-12 minutes or however long the matches go on for. Which then goes back to my point of there not being enough counters to it. So now the entire time you're hoping that your team is going to peel for you, especially if they know you're up against a dive comp. Because a lot of the times, I don't know what it is, but people just seem to hate anti-dive characters, because a lot of the times you'll end up in a place where your team is diving and the other team is diving. So now it's just who supports can die the less, well, who supports can die the least, and who can survive the longest. And it essentially turns into Dead by Daylight. It's not Marvel Rivals anymore. It's us running from the Hulk, Iron Fist, or the Captain America and stuff like that. And just to keep speaking on the anti-dive perspective of it, people kind of seem like, I don't know why, a lot of people seem like, well, they're going dive, so let's just dive them faster and quicker and better so that we kill their backline before they kill our backline, instead of going anti-dive into the dive comp. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if people just hate playing people like Namor or things like that, but it just seems like people just hate going anti-dive characters. And it'll be in situations where Hulk is not banned, so you'll have the Hulk and Namor team up, but instead of going Hulk and Namor, we just dive them more and more and more to try to kill their backline before our backline dies. And it essentially becomes a fucking dick measuring contest of who can dive better and who can diff the other team, instead of actually working as a team to counteract the dive. And I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that, but it really is annoying, and it makes this meta not fun to play against, because it doesn't feel like people want to work as a team. It feels like people are just playing for highlights and final hits. It doesn't feel like people are playing as a team and working to actually counter what we're going against, you know, as a team. It feels like we're just playing team deathmatch at this point. Like, it feels like we're just playing Call of Duty and trying to get a fucking montage going. Like, it doesn't feel like we're working together to win the game. So I'm just hoping that going forward that we really have supports that are different, for one, and are not just, you know, supports where, you know, they don't have a lot of utility and their ult is just big area with big healing. you know? Similar to how, you know, Loki works. He basically has the Echo Ult where he can copy anybody, use their kit for a couple of seconds, and then use their ultimate, right? Mainly to copy, you know, things like Luna and Invis, but I've seen Loki's copy Star-Lord, Storms, now even Emma Frost. I'm just really hoping that Ultron is a step in the right direction for strategists going forward in this game to have more utility and to have, you know, more counters to Dive, because if Dive is going to be the meta for the next couple of months, we really need to like have better hero. We need to have more versatile heroes to help counter the Dive, because once I see Namor get banned in my games, it's essentially a game of Dead by Daylight, and how long can I survive this, you know, Captain America, you know, doming my fucking head with his shield every 3 seconds. But until then, this meta is not fun, and I just really need, you know, Marvel and NetEase to get their shit together.
I mean, you